All right, let's talk about something that I guarantee every single person who's ever touched CSS has struggled with: centering stuff on a page. It seems like it should be easy, right? But it can be a real headache. Today, we're going to finally solve this CSS centering conundrum for good. So, what is it about centering a simple div that feels like you're trying to solve a puzzle in the dark? Well, the good news is it's not just you. This has been a classic developer struggle for ages, but thankfully, the tools we have today make it so much easier. You can really think about the history of CSS centering in two parts. First, there's the old way, which uses the classic box model, things like margin and padding. And then there's the modern way, which gives us a fantastic layout system called Flexbox. We're going to look at both. Okay, first things first. Let's tackle the one you'll probably run into the most: getting things centered horizontally, from left to right. We'll break this down into a couple of common situations. So, let's open our first case file. Picture this. You've got the main content container for your whole website. How do you get that entire block sitting perfectly in the middle of the browser window? Now check out the difference here, because it's a really important shift in thinking. The old box model trick, margin zero auto, gets applied to the child element, the thing you actually want to center. But the Flexbox way is the opposite. You go to the parent container, you turn it into a Flexbox, and then you tell it to center its children. So one targets the child, the other targets the parent. All right, on to case number 2. This time, we don't want to move the whole box. We just want to center the stuff inside of it, like the text and images. And here's the secret. We're not actually moving the content to the dead center of the box. What we're really doing is creating the illusion of it by adding an equal amount of empty space on both sides. So how do we create that space? We'll say hello to our good friend, padding. This is the universal tool for this job. Whether you're using the old box model or modern Flexbox, you just add some padding to the left and right of your container, and boom, your content looks perfectly centered. Simple, and it just works. Okay, now for the big one. The one that caused literal nightmares for developers for years and years: vertical centering. So for our third case, we want to take a whole container and float it right in the vertical middle of its parent. Think about a little pop-up box that needs to be perfectly centered on the screen. But, and this is a big but, there's a golden rule here. The parent container has to actually be taller than the child. I mean, it makes sense, right? If the parent just shrinks to fit the child perfectly, there's no extra empty space to move it around in. You need that vertical wiggle room. And this slide right here is exactly why developers fell in love with Flexbox. With the old box model, trying to do this was just awful. It was full of weird, complicated hacks. But with Flexbox, you just go to the parent and say align items center. And that's it. It's done. One line of code solves one of the oldest problems in CSS. Okay, let's knock out our final case. This is just like what we did horizontally, but now we want to create some vertical space inside a container to center the content up and down. And look who's back. It's padding again. It's the same exact idea as before. If you need to give the illusion of vertical centering for the content inside an element, you just add some padding to the top and bottom. It's your go-to tool for balancing things out internally. So, we've looked at 4 different scenarios, right? We've covered a lot of ground. Now, let's boil it all down into one single, super useful cheat sheet that you can come back to anytime. And here it is. This is the whole explainer in one table. You can see the patterns so clearly now. When you're centering content inside a box, padding is your best friend, both horizontally and vertically. But when you need to center the entire box itself, Flexbox is the undisputed champion. Justify content for the horizontal axis, align items for the vertical axis. This one slide is your key. Okay, theory is one thing, but let's put this into practice. Let's take what we've learned and apply it to a real-world example that you've definitely had to build before. You know what I'm talking about. That big hero section at the very top of a homepage. It usually takes up the whole screen, and it has a title, some text, maybe a button or two, and all of it needs to be perfectly, flawlessly centered both ways. This is the final boss of centering. And just look at how elegantly Flexbox handles this. Step 1, make the whole section a Flex container. Now, step 2 is the secret sauce. By default, Flex items go in a row. We change that by saying Flex direction column. This flips the whole axis. Now the main axis is vertical, and the cross axis is horizontal. which means Justify Content now handles the vertical centering and Align Items handles the horizontal. It's absolutely brilliant. So what's the big takeaway here? It's that centering in CSS isn't some dark art or a frustrating mystery anymore. With a modern tool like Flexbox and the simple cheat sheet, you have total and complete control. So the only question left is, what amazing things are you going to build with these new superpowers?